Call to order today's meeting of the Long-Term Care Planning Committee. We have quite a few guests today, so if everybody could just stay muted, and there will be time for public comment at the close of the meeting if any members of the public wish to make a statement. Today we have a jam-packed meeting where the committee did some work over the summer that we are going to review. And before we jump into the meat of the meeting, I'm going to do a quick roll call. I'll just call your name. And let's see, Christine Weston.
Good morning, I'm here.
Morning, Christine. William Seals. Margie Gerundo Marquette.
Morning, here.
Krista Ostaszewski. Erin Levitt-Smith. Barbara Cass.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Present.
Melissa. I couldn't get here fast enough. I'm
Oh, is
mute
that you,
fast enough.
Erin?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Welcome. Glad to have you. Jessica Rival.
Good morning.
Morning. Lisa Rivers. She said she couldn't be here today. Michael Santoro.
Here.
Morning, Michael. And Laura Watson.
Here.
Oh, there we are.
Morning. Okay. So with that being taken care of, let's jump right into it. So I'm going to give a very brief rundown of what to expect from today's meeting, and then we'll get right into the meat of the agenda. Hopefully you all had a chance to take a look at it. So we did at our June 10th meeting, if folks remember, we had a talk about how our next long-term services and supports plan is due to the legislature January 1st of 2028, and that the goals that have existed in our previous long-term care plan have been in place, some since 2007, most since 2012, and that it might be time, since they were largely focused on rebalancing and that we seem to have plateaued in our rebalancing percentages, that while we'll continue to keep rebalancing as a goal and we're required to do an annual rebalancing report to the legislature and track our progress toward that annually anyway. This committee is charged with doing a rebalancing report January 1st of every year to the legislature. So we're not abandoning rebalancing, but looking at taking a fresh look at Connecticut's long-term system of services and supports and what this committee should be doing to move that system forward. And with a fresh look, looking at our plan, looking at the statute that drives our committee and our plan, and re-upping our vision and commitment to what this group wants to do collectively and in partnership with our sister committee, the Long-Term Care Advisory Council, to move the state's coordinated system of long-term services and supports forward. And I think, Representative Garibay, did you join us?
I'm here.
Good to see you. Oh, Representative Belinsky, I see you as well. Good morning. Glad you could join us today. It's an important meeting as the group is going to talk about reaffirming its commitment to our statutory charge to develop a 3-year plan to move the state system of long-term services and supports forward in a coordinated way that maximizes resources and takes into account both the people who are our advocates and providers in the community, our state agencies, and most importantly, individuals' lived experience, to make sure that we're all moving towards a goal that develops a system that works for Connecticut residents. So happy to have you. Would either of you like to make a comment before we jump into the agenda?
I'm good. Just welcome everybody. Hope your summer's
Great.
been good.
Thank you, Representative Garibay.
Yeah, and I was waiting, and thank you, Jane, for making the first comment. I also wanted to welcome and thank everybody for their work, and I'm just here to listen and try to see where we're at and be of any support I can be. So
Great.
we on the aging department or on the aging committee appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks so much. Real happy to have you here today. So with that, why don't we jump right into the first part of our agenda. And I am going to screen share, and Cody Clark from OPM's HHS division is kind enough to be here today to help me manage the meeting if anybody's hands are up or anyone needs anything, because I will be screen sharing and unable to see you. So give me 1 second here and we will walk through today's presentation together. Okay. So just starting right from the beginning, what are we all doing here? We come together as the statutorily required long-term care planning committee to work towards building the future for Connecticut's long-term services and support system. So as a reminder, and we went over this in depth at our June 10th meeting, so I'm just putting this here quickly as just a reset for everybody, that our group is statutorily charged with exchanging information on long-term care issues, coordinating policy and development, and establishing a long-term care plan for all persons in need of long-term care. And we have been using the term long-term services and supports as a committee instead of long-term care, but that's the language that exists in our statute. So the committee's long-term services and supports, development coordination, and long-term care plan charge, as outlined in statute, says that such policy and plan that is developed by our committee shall provide that individuals with long-term care needs have the option to choose and receive long-term care and support in the least restrictive and appropriate setting. Such plan shall integrate the 3 components of a long-term care system, including home and community-based services, supportive housing arrangements, and nursing facilities. So we are charged with focusing on all aspects of the long-term services and support system and making sure that people have high quality choices along the continuum. The legislature also helps us define our what needs to be in our long-term care plan. So the plan needs to include a vision and mission statement for a long-term care system. And we're going to really be focusing on this today and getting back to what this committee wants that vision and mission statement to be. We have to include in our plan the current number of persons receiving services, current number of persons receiving long-term care supports and services in the community, and the number receiving services in institutions. Demographic data concerning individuals by service type, the current aggregate cost of the system of services, and forecasts of future demand for services. The plan must also provide data on the type of services available and the amount of funds necessary to meet the need and the demand for such services. And that includes the projected cost for programs associated with supporting the long-term services and support system, and strategies to promote the Partnership for Long-Term Care program, which is the privately funded long-term care insurance. And we've broadened that traditionally as a committee to look at all types of, we do a deep dive on the Partnership for Long-Term Care, but also look at other potential sources of private funding for long-term care needs. We are also asked by the legislature to include in our plan resources necessary to accomplish goals for the future as set forth in our plan, and fundings, and identify funding sources that are currently available, and the number and types of providers needed in the state to deliver services. So the legislature tells us the plan shall address how changes in one component of such long-term care system impacts other components of the system. So our current long-term care plan and the annual rebalancing report that we submit every January 1st, takes a good look at what is the impact, say, if we do the switch to serving more people in the community? What does that mean for our nursing home industry? If we bolster the pay scale for home care workers to Medicaid individuals who self-direct their own services and supports, what does that do to our agency-based home care providers, and what do they need to stay competitive? So that's something this group has been charged with and has reported on. Essentially, our long-term services and supports plan has centered around goals for the long-term care system that are both short and long-term recommendations. So our long-term care plan has, over the past about 2 decades now, had 2 main goals that are then that the state commits to achieving through a series of short and long-term recommendations, with short-term recommendations being those recommendations that can be achieved within the 3-year plan period, and then longer-term recommendations that individuals felt the state should really work toward, but might take 5 to 10 years to achieve. So now that we've gone through and done just a quick reminder of our statutory charge, of why our long-term care, our 3-year long-term care plan has been organized the way it has, includes the information that it has, and with the lens toward our commitment made at our last meeting to refresh the goals and the recommendations within that plan, I thought it would be a good time to also take a look at new eyes with the vision and mission that we are charged with developing our plan around. So we are charged with starting our long-term services and supports plan off each year, every 3 years. Marianne, I'm just going to mute you. I'm sorry. And hopefully you can unmute yourself if you need to during public comment. So before we get into everything, here's the vision and the mission that has been in the past several iterations of our long-term services and supports plan. And I would like us today to revisit the vision and the mission, determine if they need any refreshing or edits, and to either vote to recommit to this vision or vote on a revised vision and mission, because what we are charged with setting up is the vision for the state's long-term services and support system, and the mission of our long-term services and supports plan, which is meant to support moving the state toward meeting the ultimate vision. So are there any questions at this point before I dive into the discussion and talking about vision and mission? Any hands? Cody, I'm sorry, I can't see.
I don't see any hands raised.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So the current vision for the long-term services and support system that this committee adopted if you can believe it, back, I think this was adopted in 2007, was that Connecticut residents have access to a full range of high quality long-term services and supports that maximize autonomy, choice, and dignity. So that's our broad vision for what the long-term services and support system should look like. In order to have the 3-year long-term services and supports plan be designed in a manner to help the state move towards achieving that vision, this committee came up with a mission statement for the plan, and it was to provide guidance for the development of a comprehensive system of community-based and institutional long-term services and supports options. Such a system should promote access to affordable, high-quality, cost-effective services and supports that are delivered in the most integrated, life-enhancing setting. So that is what our committee currently is basing its long-term services and supports plan around, and what we should all be working toward collectively as state agencies, providers, when trying to develop our programs and services to support the long-term system of services and supports in the state. So I want to pause here and get initial reaction to the vision. Connecticut residents have access to a full range of high quality long-term services and supports that maximize autonomy, choice, and dignity. And see what folks think. Is that still the correct vision for driving for the future state of Connecticut's LTSS system? And is there anything that we need to do to amend this vision? Keeping in mind, the vision is the broadest look at our system. It is the broadest vantage point. And then as we go through today, we start to zoom in and get narrower and narrower in our focus. So this is just setting up one sentence that ultimately defines what we want ultimately the state's LTSS system to look like. So I'll open up at this point. Comment, do people have any thoughts, feelings about the LTSS system vision? And if it
Melissa,
needs amendment? Yes.
It's Erin Levitt-Smith. I like the vision. I agree. It's broad, but I think that sets the tone of what we really want. So I think it's fine as it is. I think it states what we've done and what I think we want to do in the future. So that's just my 2 cents.
Great. Thanks, Erin. Others, anybody else? Just you can chime in if you're a committee member. Because
this is Margie. And I agree. And really, even though we've had such success in getting the long-term services and supports shifted, and I think it's 70% now, it still feels like this vision applies. I don't know if there's any way to enhance or update this, but it still feels like it's broad enough, and it still feels like it applies to what we're doing in the future. So thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Melissa, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Christine. Thank you.
No, I was just going to say, and I may be like, it may be more towards mission instead of vision, but I think like the continuum of care, right? So when you say full range of high quality, right, there's different levels of that. And I think it's not just home and it's not just institution, right? And what does that continuum of care and that hierarchy of care mean to someone, but still resonate as community? Maybe we can drill in a little bit to that more in mission too, but just so people like acknowledge that continuum, right? To encourage other less restrictive but supportive living environments.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, Christine, because that's really important. And our long-term services and supports plan has tried to acknowledge the continuum all along. So I think you're exactly right, is that the vision and everything that we're talking about here is meant to address the full continuum of long-term services and supports and making sure that people have true choice. And that means choice along the continuum from staying in their homes to going into assisted living to residential care to all the way to institutionalization, whatever it may be, that we have high quality services along the continuum. So thank you for pointing that out. I think it's a really good reminder and something we should be mindful of as we move forward. Anybody else have comment about the vision, or should we move on to the mission? Because it sounds like we're pretty good with the vision. So if anybody wants to express a change to the vision, I'm happy to entertain that at this time. Nope. Okay. So now we have our vision, right? So that's great. We've committed it. We've re-upped our commitment that Connecticut residents shall have access to a full range of high quality LTSS that maximize autonomy, choice, and dignity. So that's our vision for the state long-term services and support system. So now, what is our mission as a committee and the mission of our long-term services and supports plan? The committee and the plan itself is being produced to provide guidance for the development of a comprehensive system of community-based and institutional LTS options. Christine, this might be where we get to your point. Such a system should promote access to affordable, high quality, cost-effective services and supports that are delivered in the most integrated, life-enhancing setting. So I want to open up the mission, because the mission is setting the tone that's going to guide our plan, what we want our plan to actually do to help move the state towards fulfilling its mission, for its vision for the system. A lot of jargon involved in this, but I think in the end, it's going to really help to ground us as we move forward. So Christine, I'm going to jump in first to just say that I think what I heard you saying was that the way our mission is worded now, to provide guidance for the development of a comprehensive system of community-based and institutional LTS options, makes it seem like it's a binary option, that you're either in the community or you're in an institution. And maybe that's true, but what does community really mean and look like? And
Yeah.
does go ahead.
A comprehensive system of community-based is just a little starchy. I guess maybe it's just like a more like easier way to say that, right? Like comprehensive system of community-based care. Like, I mean, that is the continuum, but it doesn't really express like meeting people where they are or receiving services and how they choose. Like, I don't know. I don't have a way to say it. I'm not eloquent at all. So someone might be able to put something better in the chat. But yeah, I think that comprehensive system of community is very like sterile statement, maybe just something more people centric.
Do we want to add, could others chime in? I would love to hear thoughts on this. Do we want to add something about, I don't know that person-centered is the right word here, comprehensive and person-centered system, or what are folks thinking? Because I like where you're going with this, Christine. I get your point. Barbara.
So Christine, thank you for those comments about meeting people where they are. And while in 2007, this was meeting the need in 2007, I think in those 18 years, we've seen lots of changes. And I think Melissa, person-centered may capture Christine's comment about meeting people where they are, because the whole concept of community looks different today than it did that many years ago.
I'm trying to do it in a different color so that, by the way, when I type and people are watching me, it's a disaster. So you're going to have to bear with me. My hands get stage fright. So person-centered system of community-based and institutional LTS options. Should we outright say that meet individuals? We could say meet individuals where, or do we just leave it person-centered system? Because I'm afraid if we say that meet individuals where they are,
And
we could
so
get
Mel-
too wordy, because then I'm like, we need to help them achieve their future goals. That where they are now might not be where they want to be. So go ahead. Somebody's
It's
standing
Aaron.
up.
Yes, sorry. So sometimes when we fit too many words, it waters down and it's difficult to kind of understand. So what if we put person-centered instead of such a system? You can say this person-centered system should promote. So you keep that in there, should promote access to that are delivered in the most integrated life and the most integrated setting of the person's choice, something like that. That way you're not, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we could say such system should be person-centered and promote access to affordable, high-quality,
Yeah.
cost-effective. Okay.
I think that just reads a little better and you're not fitting too many adjectives in what the system is. It's a comprehensive system of community-based and institutional LTSS, but then such systems, or you can still say such a system or such should be
Such system
person-
should be person-centered.
and
There you go.
promote. Yep, promote access to affordable customer service boards. The most integrated most integrated setting of the person's choice or something to that. I don't know, would that fit, Christine? It's not saying where they're meeting the person, but it's giving them choice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whoops. Well, let me jump ahead a bit, which I think might help a little bit. Once we set the vision and the mission, I'm just going to give you a sneak preview. We're going to jump ahead. If you can believe it, the goal has principles for governing the long-term services and support system. That is also in our plan. And that's where we get into the nitty-gritty with all of the more detail on how we're going to make the mission happen and hold ourselves accountable and really define what the system must include. So
Maybe that's when you talk about meeting the person where they are. Because again, I feel like if we have too many tag words, it bogs it down and then it's like, what are you trying to say?
how about this? Yeah, why don't we?
I mean, I like what we just you put in person-centered. And then I do like what Christine said, meeting them where they are. And that might be, to your point, Melissa, what would come on the next slide. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to give them choice, but we're going to meet them where they are and, that kind of thing.
Sure. So would it be helpful to folks if we actually jump ahead and discuss well, first of all, for the mission as it is right now, does anybody have any other comment on the mission? Are they good? Are people good with the mission statement as it stands, adding the person-centered? Are there any other comments on this? I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to assume that we are good with this for right now then. So we have our vision and now we have our slightly revised mission is to provide guidance for the development. So our plan, the mission of our plan and of our group is to provide guidance for the development of a comprehensive system of community-based and institutional LTSS options. Such system should be person-centered, promote access to affordable, high-quality, cost-effective services and supports that are delivered in the most integrated, life-enhancing setting. All right. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I would like to entertain a motion. If someone could please make a motion to adopt the vision and mission statements for the long-term services and supports. Actually, we have to do two votes. Can someone do a motion to adopt the vision guided for Connecticut's long-term services and support system?
I move that we re-adopt the existing vision for the Long-Term Care Planning Committee as proposed.
I
Thank you,
second.
Mike.
Christine
Thank you,
seconds.
Aaron. So Mike,
Or Aaron.
I'm sorry.
I said, or Aaron. I said Christine seconds, but Aaron got to me first, so that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, Christine, you can make the mission. Thank you. So
I'll own the mission one.
okay. All right. So Michael made a motion. Aaron Levitt Smith second. I'm going to do this by voice vote. All in favor of adopting our existing vision? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Our vision has been reconfirmed. Thank you, everybody. So now I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt our revised mission for the long-term services and supports plan. Christine, you dying to make that motion?
I would like to make the motion to amend the mission statement for the long-term care planning committee's mission statement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who is that? I heard 2 seconds. Was that
I'll let Barbara take the second. I already had a second. I already had a second. Share the wealth.
Barbara Cass second. And okay, let's take a voice vote. All in favor of adopting the revised mission statement for the long-term services and supports plan, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Abstentions? Thank you. We've adopted our revised mission statement that will be included in our next LTSS plan and will be the driving guidepost. So we now have our touchstones for everything we do moving forward. So thanks so much, folks. This is great to re-up our commitment. I'm really happy about this. All right. So now that we have a vision and a mission, how in the heck do we do it? So the long-term care planning committee had previously set, and this I think goes back to 2012, we set principles for governing the system of long-term services and support. So this group decided over a decade ago that the long-term services and support system, in order to move us toward our mission, our vision, toward the ultimate vision, that the LTSS system must do the following. And this is really tiny, so I'm sorry, but the slides are all going to be posted after. So we said our long-term services and support system must what? Provide equal access to home and community-based and institutional care. We must assure that people with control and that people have control and choice with respect to their own lives. The LTSS system must be adequately financed and structured to assure that decision-making and service delivery are based on the needs of the individuals and families served and on the needs of the employees who provide care and services. So we also agreed that the system must deliver services in a culturally competent manner to meet the needs of a diverse population and to assure that individuals have meaningful rights and protections. The group also said that the LTSS system must include an information component to educate individuals about available services and financing options, that it should assure mechanisms for integration with related services and systems, including acute medical care, housing, and transportation services. So making sure that our whole system of care is integrated. The system should include a prevention component to educate individuals regarding actions that can be taken to reduce the chances of needing long-term services and supports. So really looking at those preventions and staying healthy. The system should include a strong independent advocacy component for those in need and include meaningful consumer input at all levels of system planning and implementation. And that's one that this group really recommitted to at our last meeting and that we're going to be talking quite a bit about in the second half of our meeting today. So I just want to take a pause here. I think there's 10 guiding principles that the group had established prior. And I want to take a moment to get feedback and see if anybody has comments on how we should proceed with this. We can look at each one by one, or if something jumped out as missing or needing revision, that might be the best place to start. And I am happy to repeat anything if someone thinks they heard something or thinks something's missing or wants me to try to enlarge one for discussion. We could maybe start with this one if folks would like. Provide equal access to home and community-based care and institutional care, since I think that is getting to Christine's point about needing to acknowledge the full continuum. And is this really the best way to say that? So with that, I'm going to shut up and open it all up to you guys to either share general feedback, let me know if on this particular one you have some edits you want to make, any others. Floor is yours.
Melissa, I raised
Christine
my
has
hand,
her.
but I'm just gonna talk. Sorry.
Yeah,
When
go
it
right
says-
ahead. Yeah.
When it says equal access, is it equal access to home care versus institutional care, or is it equal access for members to have access to either care? Is it the equitable access to either setting, or is it equitable access across the member population? What is the intent of that one?
Are you talking Medicaid member? Is that what you're?
Well, I guess maybe that's the other question. Is it across the populations regardless of payer, or is it to the setting of choice? Like, what is the equal access to?
Sure. It's on this slide, we're talking about regardless of payer source, that all Connecticut residents who need long-term services and supports have equal access, that the full continuum of options is available to them, that they can choose the setting, they have equal access to the setting and services that they prefer to receive. And the plan itself in the recommendations and all of that is where we drill down into, well, getting into what does that look like for Medicaid? And we're not doing that today, so don't panic.
Yeah.
But what
But
the
it's about the
subcommi-
setting.
it's about the setting and
Okay.
saying that regardless of your monetary resources, there's an equal access to the setting.
So, Melissa, do we need to call that out though, regardless of payer source, so that it's very clear that that is the mission?
I'm happy to add that. How do folks feel about that? Good? Yes? I'm going to take that as a yes. That would like that. So yeah, so now I like that ad. I think that that clarifies the question nicely, and that we're just trying to make an equitable system. Anybody else have comments on either this guiding principle or any of the other governing principles? Are we missing anything? Would you like me to go through them again? You tell me. I'm here to help you all think this through and come up with a set of principles that work for moving the system forward. Do we feel that we've addressed the issue of access? For example, include an information component to educate individuals about available services and financing options. How is that? Access every single year when we, every single plan year when we do the development of the long-term services and supports plan and we go out into the community and do focus. I've been doing listening sessions and we get written feedback on surveys. People say that they don't know where to go. The system is overwhelming. They don't know what services and supports are available to them. And the only thing they know of is Medicaid, so they default to it because they don't know of any other options. So is this broad enough to include an information component to educate individuals about available services and supports and financing options? I know the state's been working toward developing a no wrong door system, and we have the navigators at the AAAs. Is there anything else that we should do here to actually acknowledge the need to further build out a no wrong door system or any other broad visions that need to be added?
So Melissa, in an effort to sound like I'm wordsmithing, and that is not truly my intent, and I put it out for the group, is the context of ensure and usher two different contexts, and is ensure more of a action word that has greater meaning? Or for all English majors on this call, I put it out to them.
Oh, which one are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm actually looking throughout all the boxes where there's
Oh.
usher, and rather I'm suggesting, is there a difference between, is it more meaningful to use the word ensure, being a nursing major, not an English
Gotcha.
major, rather than usher? And it's wordsmithing, and I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. That's a valid point. Do folks have feelings about making it more so that we're not, are we assuring Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have a strong opinion on that. So do other folks have a strong opinion about terminology there?
Well, I think to Barbara's point and to AI, Google, chatbot, whatever, it's an ensure is the action oriented. It's the verb about taking steps to make sure something happens. So if we want to ensure that that stuff is happening, I don't know. Is that the commitment we're making? I mean, the statement already says must. So we must ensure that these things are happening, like through some steps in the plan. I think that might be the action.
So we're ensuring, EN, correct? Ensure.
And,
Okay.
or we're just giving confidence that something will happen, because that's meaning we're assuring.
Well, ensure means to make certain that something happens. So we will ensure.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good catch, Barbara.
Wendy
What
Furness is in my brain on that. She was a
Wendy
great
Furness?
wordsmither. Yes.
All right. Okay. Is there anything, and I just want to remind members of the public that we will do public comment at the end of the meeting. There will be a public comment option because I want, if any members of the public are like, hey, you guys are missing a principle or you're something, please just hold it. And at the end, be more than happy to hear your feedback, and people will also have an opportunity to submit feedback after the meeting as well. Okay, so Margie, did you have your hand up? Am I seeing that?
Yep. Yes, I
Okay.
did. So I did just want to ask it. So is this the place to include something about the no wrong door system? I know that wasn't a thing way back when we came up with these. There may be another place to put this, but in terms of including, an information component, and that's where, the access also comes in. So providing information, the access, and then it all comes together in this, coordinated no wrong door system. So it's that coordinated no wrong door system for access to information and the LTSS. So I feel like I need to sit with it for a second, but I don't know if this is a place to add that, but it would be great to really solidify our principles by including the no wrong door in here.
I'm just gonna throw something out there for comment. And I just made this so small. I'm very sorry. So I don't even zoom in on this. I was going to try to zoom for you guys. What I did was I changed it to say, include an information component to educate individuals about available services and financing options through a coordinated no wrong door system.
I think that really works, Melissa. And I think because no wrong door is defined in other places, we can go a lot of places with this and it's not as limiting. So I think this expands what we're trying to do here and connects with the no wrong door in a good way. So I like that.
Yep. And for those on the committee who might not be as familiar, no wrong door is actually it's a federal term of art that is used across the country at through many of the programs at the center sponsored by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. It's a big thing in the Aging and Disability Resource Center movement, in Medicaid services and supports, really building out a no wrong door system where no matter where somebody calls or tries to enter to get information on services, they're met with somebody who knows the system and can guide them through their options. Margie, you can probably explain no wrong door a little better than I did, if you want to just give a real super quick definition of it, just to orient everybody before they commit to adding that.
Yeah, that covers it so well, Melissa. And it is from, the Administration for Community Living at the federal level. And this is a movement that's happening across the country. And it really ensures that every door or access point leads to the right services at the right time. And if you have this coordinated no wrong door system with all the different players like we have here, then it really solidifies the access to the services and supports. So I feel like what we're doing here fits that, and this will strengthen our ability to, work within that system that the feds have set up as well, and also potentially access grants. So when you have this stuff in here, we're all buying into this system, which I know through the aging world, we've done that in our aging and disability world. And I've talked about it a bit as well. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that.
Thanks. Christine, is your hand up? I can't, or
It
is
is.
that a
Yep.
letter?
I put my
Oh,
hand
okay.
up to go in order. That was good, Margie. I agree adding that I have another one. So if you want to finish that discussion, I have another one.
Does
Want me to
anybody
move
have
on?
a question for Margie? I don't think I see anything.
Okay, so I just want to add, because I think we're silent on it, I want to add to that bottom right one, include meaningful consumer input at all levels of system planning, implementation, and evaluation. Because something that I want to commit to more is once we've stood up programs to really hear about the effectiveness, is there gaps? What do we need to go back to appropriations for? Do we need to redesign? So I think we do evaluation, but I think it's critical for us to be accountable to that in this plan, and make sure that we're really we could have all the best intentions, but we could have a massive miss that we don't know if we don't start talking to the people accessing the program. So just recommend adding end evaluation.
Love it. That's great. Yes. And that's going to segue us beautifully into our next part of our discussion. Any thoughts on that? Any discussion on Christine's suggestion? Okay. So any other comment or discussion on our governing principles? Are there any other edits needed? Are we missing anything that we need to add? Yes, Barbara.
And it may be further through your slide deck, Melissa, but is there a place where we talk about communication and messaging so that Connecticut residents know that there is access to LTSS, or if they choose institutional settings? But it may be further through the slide deck, and it may be an ancillary piece of work that we do. But
I'm sorry, are you saying if someone's in an institution, do we address them getting information on community settings, or are you saying?
Everyone, all of Connecticut residents? Is this group, or there could be another group that's charged with the messaging or communicating the availability of services that are out there. But who's doing that? I guess I know No Wrong Door and the websites are great, but how do consumers know that those websites are out there and the No Wrong Door system? And it may be other work groups that are doing that work.
Right. That's a really great point. And it's, I am so glad that you raised that. One of the things that the state is great about starting programs and not letting people know they're available necessarily unless you know the right people, or that is part of the goal of the No Wrong Door, Barbara. And how do you let people know there is such a thing as a no wrong door, or that there even is a door? that's all part of include an information component to educate individuals. So that would be part of that information strategy. And that's what the subcommittees that we're going to talk about, the one that's charged with developing the goals and recommendations for the long-term services and supports plan, that would be something where they would come up with recommendations for us, for the state, to say how we educate and increase access. How do we do that part? So I think that's a good point. And
Thank
you're
you.
exactly right. That kind of granular, how do we implement all this, comes later.
Thank you. That's helpful.
No, thank you. That was a really great point. Anybody else have comments on this before we move forward? The only comment I have, and I'm honestly not sure it goes here, it might actually be better served for plan development and, something that I would bring to one of the subcommittees that we're about to discuss. I would like this group to start thinking about and have our next long-term services and supports plan include what do we know about the people of Connecticut who need the long-term services and supports, or who want them or need to access them. And a long time ago, we had, Julie Robeson and her team did the law and the long-term care study, and we had that great data. But what do we know now about the population that we are that need to access long-term services and supports? Who are our residents, and what are the services they actually need versus what's available, and what other research do we need to be doing and to make decisions to move things forward and create a system that's responsive. So I'm not sure it goes here. I think that's something that might be built into the plan itself. And the actual plan itself requires us to provide a lot of that data, but I would like to just put food for thought in people's minds about what data do we need to better inform the goals and recommendations that go into the development of our long-term services and supports plan, so that we're creating a plan that is truly responsive and meaningful to the population and the need in the state of Connecticut. All right, any other comments? And just a reminder to stay muted, please, if you're not talking. Any comment on this slide, and then we're going to get into the last half of our meeting here. No,
Oh, hold on. I have one more
Oh.
point. And it might
Okay.
be like to set aside, because I don't know if we could do it in this point, but a birdie just whispered in my ear that there's nothing really mentioning the family unit and supported caregivers. But I wanted to just
That's huge,
confirm that
yeah.
before moving on.
I think that's a big omission.
Be
Yeah.
adequately based on the needs of the individuals and families served, and on the needs of an employees who provide care and services. So maybe we talk about like breaking that big one into two pieces, like a workforce and a family network one.
Yeah, I think would it be a must ensure adequate supports for informal caregivers? Is that what we're?
Um,
Yes, no?
I think that sounds good, Melissa. I definitely think the caregiver piece should be included. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's a huge one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do, now I forget what in the heck I said. Ensure adequate,
Supports of informal caregivers is what you said, Melissa.
adequate,
Maybe resources to support. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't have, it'd be a big commitment for us to say we must support all caregivers like that. Maybe it's just providing like resources and mechanisms to support formal and informal caregivers, right? Because there's the family network, you kind of ebb and flow out of that a lot of time. And with the expansion of self-direction, there's a lot of family that are also paid caregivers. So there's the informal caregivers, the natural supports, and then the family as caregivers. So it's like a whole blend of formal and informal supports.
so I feel like the big one has the four, I see, so I need to revise this big guy too. Be adequately financed, structured to assure that decision-making and service delivery are based on the needs of the individuals and families and those of the employees and so these are saying two different things actually. So do I want to say ensure adequate services, supports, and resources are available to formal and informal caregivers? Or I feel like workforce is a paid, What we could do is ensure adequate services and supports, be adequately financed, structured to ensure that decision-making is certainly based on the needs of the individuals and families served. So is it really that the system must ensure adequate services and supports and resources are available for informal caregivers and that there's, and then do we need a separate one on that the system must adequately support paid caregivers or
Workforce development and
workforce development?
I don't know. Yeah. Can we like table like the
Yeah.
nuances of it? I think we could get lost in this. I don't know.
No, we could. I just want to make sure I'm understanding your idea. And instead of voting on this, what I'm going to do is just, I don't know that our principals necessarily need a vote right now. I'm just going to put it up in the, for discussion. And I'm going to ask that people actually really do comment and look at this. So I'm just going to put a placeholder here to do something about adequately supporting paid workforce. And we need to ensure that a paid workforce is available, must have paid workforce availability. I'm just putting placeholder. And then I will come up with something for you guys to react to. And I know that's red on orange and can't be red, so. All right. So is that good for now? And then what I commit to for this, I'm going to just make myself a note that this will be posted for comment after the meeting. Sound good for review and comment?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, okay. All right. So those are our governing principles where we set up what the system must have. All right, so let's move on. Take a breath. Now we're just going to get into voting on what we already looked at over the summer and officially setting up the roles and responsibilities of the subcommittees that are going to be responsible for developing the long-term services and supports plan, and then monitoring our progress toward implementing that services and supports plan, all of which will be done keeping in mind the vision for the state's long-term services and support system, the mission of the plan, and the governing principles for what a long-term services and support system must do. So we've set the groundwork for what our sort of touchstone is for plan development and evaluation. So before I move on, any comment or thought at this stage before we get into just reviewing what was done on subcommittees over the summer and how we're going to actually get this work done? Okay. All right. So now that we have our why we're doing this and our vision for the future, let's remember exactly why we're doing it. We decided back in June that we wanted as a committee to take measurable steps towards meeting the recommendations in the long-term services and supports plan, that we want to work together to improve interagency coordination, maximize financial and programmatic resources, and solve identified gaps and challenges in the state's LTSS system through the 3-year plan development and progress monitoring. So we recommitted to working together as a collectively to move toward a common vision. So how are we doing this? We also decided at the June meeting that the planning committee would move toward that goal by forming 2 subcommittees. The first subcommittee would be the Long-Term Services and Support Plan Development Subcommittee. And then the second plan would be the LTSS Plan Implementation and Progress Tracking Subcommittee. So one is helping us develop the plan. One is making sure that we are taking adequate steps towards implementing that plan. And so we are now going to get into that. So once we made that decision, we left the June meeting saying that over the summer, that we were going to put a working document up in a shared doc that would define the roles and responsibilities and composition of those 2 subcommittees, and that folks would take the summer, and we took about 6 weeks this summer. The document was up and posted for people to comment on what those committees would look like in terms of committee composition and what the roles and responsibilities of those committees would be. So where'd we end up? So where we ended up at the end of the summer was with, was that we ended up defining first and foremost, what would the ongoing role of the long-term care planning committee be? If we're setting up these subcommittees, what's the overarching to develop the recommendation and goals of the plan, and then help monitor our progress toward achieving the plan goals and recommendations? Then what is the larger committee responsible for? Well, we decided over the summer that it would be responsible for establishing the mission, vision, and governing principles for Connecticut's system. And I'm pleased to say we just re-upped our mission and vision and took a giant step towards updating our guiding principles for the system that drive all aspects of development and implementation of the 3-year plan. So we're setting the overall tone and vision for the system and the plan. The larger committee is also responsible for providing ongoing technical assistance and feedback to the subcommittees. So we're not just, throwing the subcommittees out there and saying, have at it. We're still going to be quarterly touchstones for them. And I will get in a little more about the role of OPM in helping with the subcommittee work. The role of the long-term care planning committee, we will also be we will be the ones who will receive the subcommittee recommendations and feedback on the long-term services and supports plan. We will retain responsibility for final approval of the goals and recommendations included in the 3-year plan. So every 3 years before the plan goes to the legislature, we all vote on the goals and recommendations to be included in that plan, and that will continue. So the subcommittee will come up with them and we will vote to adopt them. Engaging in interagency coordination and planning efforts the committee will continue to engage in interagency coordination and planning efforts to implement the short and long-term recommendations in the plan and achieve the specified goals put forward in the plan. And really, in a nutshell, what all of that is getting to is that the long-term care planning committee is making a commitment that members of the planning committee shall work collectively to achieve the goals and implement the recommendations set forth in the long-term services and supports plan and incorporate feedback from the subcommittees to the greatest extent possible. So that is where we ended up this summer. Any comment or thoughts on the role of the planning committee before I get into the subcommittees? And we can always go back after you hear about subcommittees and feedback received on that. You might be like, now I have a question about the role of the larger committee. So just pausing here before we move on. Okay, people good with re-upping this commitment to work together towards implementation of the plan? Okay. So the first subcommittee, the purpose that was put forward and that folks seem to be generally in favor of was that the first subcommittee that would be formed would be the long-term care plan development subcommittee. And why are we developing this committee? We're developing it for this purpose: to develop the overarching goals and supporting short and long-term recommendations to be considered for inclusion in the 3-year LTS plan due to the legislature by January 1, 2028. And every 3 years moving forward as required by statute. So every 3 years we're required to put forward this plan, and rather what plan development had become was a lot of us running around, sending emails out, trying to do as many listening sessions as we could, but really just mostly one person doing a lot of the writing and then a lot of people reacting. We really want to bring in, the goal with this group is to really engage people in the development of the plan and make sure we have the right voices at the table. So this is the final purpose that I'm going to be putting forward for vote in a few minutes. It was put up for 6 weeks and an adjustment was made because there was a period after January 1st originally, and based on comment, every 3 years moving forward was added. So what are the roles and responsibilities of the committee to help it meet its purpose? One is to obtain public feedback on the goals and recommendations, making a special effort to reach long-term services and systems users and family members, providers, community organizations, and advocates. And activities to do this shall include but not be limited to holding at least 3 focus groups, or I used to call them listening sessions, issue an electronic survey, conduct research on best practices and innovative ideas to inform the development of goals and recommendations, and other activities the subcommittee feels necessary to collect public feedback and create responsive goals and recommendations. The second task is to provide quarterly progress updates to the Long-Term Care Planning Committee at regularly scheduled meetings. And I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through the next slide, then we'll go back for discussion. Just to let folks know, those activities that are listed under number 1 might seem like a lot. Those are all things that I was doing on behalf of the committee kind of by myself, and with the help of part-time help of one of my colleagues at OPM. And again, just looking to make sure that we're casting a wide net, and that it's not just my voice at the table, but that we're really hearing from the people that work in the system. And we'll talk more about that and how people used to be included in the goal moving forward. And then we also need to discuss, well, if that's what the group is tasked with, who should be on it, right? How many people need to be assigned to that subcommittee, and who should those people be? So during the 6-week comment period, we received some comments such as saying that should we develop a section that references a timeline for subset of the subcommittee work to be done? And it's an ongoing committee, and the committee would actually set its own timetable for when it needs to complete its long-term care plan. That's something that the committee will have to do very early on, is kind of set a timeline for its work. But that was a really valid point. Another comment made was that it looks like a very heavy lift, and will there be leadership, admin, or support for these activities, or can the subcommittee play a more supportive role? These are all activities that have always happened, but looking to have a group that is more representative of the people that work in and support the long-term services and support system and use that system, be at the table from the word go. OPM will absolutely continue to provide the admin support for these subcommittees, be at the meetings, help to drive the work forward and provide support. I'm very grateful to my colleague, Cody Clark, who's on the call today, who's going to be assisting me with OPM staff support for the subcommittees. And then we had a question about membership and how membership was defined, and just how the math added up when talking about having 6 members of the Long-Term Care Planning Committee and 6 members of the Advisory Council, and also having family members, and how all that worked out. And we can talk about that when we get to the composition. So before we get into composition for the subcommittee, I would like to open it up to comment and feedback about the proposed roles and responsibilities of the subcommittee. And let's remember that the subcommittee, the one thing I will point out is that membership will also include our sister, the legislature was wise when they established the Long-Term Care Planning Committee, which is all the state health and human service agencies. It then also established a sister council, the Long-Term Care Advisory Council, that is chaired by the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. Michael Werner chairs that. And that is the counterpart that is to our long-term care planning committee. And that is comprised of all of the advocacy groups, members with lived experience, family, including family members, community providers. And, Michael Werner's done a great job convening that group. They meet quarterly, usually right after we meet. And we are statutorily linked in that we have to go to them to get recommendations and feedback on development of the long-term care plan. And their statutory charge is to give us those recommendations. So we necessarily work together, both state agencies and the boots on the ground folks, to come up with goals and recommendations for the plan. So I can tell because my throat is sore that I've done too much talking this morning. So I would like to get some feedback here, particularly from those of you who didn't make comment over the summer, or those of you who did. How do we feel about this? Are there any changes needed to just the general proposed roles and responsibilities for this particular group? Because this is what we're going to use to help form the group and kick them off when we meet with them to give them their charge for how to spend the next 2 years developing the plan.
Melissa, it's Erin. Do you need
Yeah.
to outline it? I don't know if it's here or in general. How the committees are selected? Is it voluntary or whatever, are you appointed? And I'm assuming you're going to want a chair of the subcommittee.
So that's this slide right here, Erin.
Oh,
It's the next slide is on membership. So I was trying to make sure once we agree on, because you're exactly right, your questions are all correct. I just want to make sure we agree on what the committee's primary role and responsibilities are. Then we'll get into what is the correct composition for a committee to do those things.
okay.
Does that make sense?
I do, and I like what's written. I'll say that for this.
Awesome, thank you. But your thinking is spot on. You're headed in the right direction. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments on this slide, on the roles and responsibilities of this committee?
So this is Margie.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I like what you've put together. First of all, you should not have to do all of this yourself. So thank you for taking a leadership role and pulling this all together and also clarifying the roles of the subcommittee. I know I had a few questions about that too. So it's much clearer that this is obviously a group project with OPM support, your staff support as well, and that the subcommittee wouldn't be left figuring all this out themselves. So that's appreciated, and really having the engagement of so many different people in this and having it a coordinated effort sounds like such a great opportunity. So anyway, so thank you for that.
Thanks, Margie. Yeah, so just to further clarify, because we did get comments about the heavy lift, was when we say hold at least 3 focus groups, that's traditionally what I've done because that's all I've really been able to do. But also I want people who are out in the community and who have lived experience to say, to have a voice and help to say, hey, have you talked to this group? Hey, I can help you get people together. So it's not that they have the admin role of pulling those focus groups together. It's more just helping us identify who we should be talking to. Where should we be having them? Should those groups be, held virtually? Should they be held in person? What should we be asking? So yeah, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify that and for your comment. All right, any other comments on the roles and responsibilities? Do we feel good about this? This is, should not look new to anybody. It's what was out there for 6 weeks. So any additional thoughts, feedback, or are we good with the roles and responsibilities as generally laid out here? Okay, great. So we'll move on then to Aaron's great question about, well, who's at the table? Like, how are we putting these subcommittees together? I literally made this up just for your reaction, to spark conversation, because it made sense to me, but I'm open to all of you. I was thinking a subcommittee with more than 12 members is unwieldy, but I'm throwing out for general comment that there could be 12 members for this particular committee. 6 being from state agencies, 6 from the advisory council. And to Aaron's point, I was originally thinking, or I'm sorry, not Aaron's point, to the commenter's point about the person over the summer who made the comment about, I was thinking that 2 of the long-term service, I wanted 2 members to be actual users of the long-term services and support system or family members. I think it's so critically important that that voice is represented in not just sitting on focus groups and filling out surveys and writing to us, but actually being part of the process and helping us obtain that feedback and guiding the whole way through. And I originally thought, oh, well, the Long-Term Care Advisory Council is statutorily charged with helping us, and they have family members and users of the LTSS system on their committee. But Michael Werner was kind enough to meet with me a couple times prior to this, including yesterday, and he pointed out to me that we should really, and I think wisely so, open it up to a larger swath, just in case the few people, because there's only a few people on the advisory council with lived experience, that we should really open that up to a wider swath and allow members of the planning committee and the advisory council and others to self-select and step forward and say, hey, I want to be on the committee. So I'm proposing that we actually pivot from this to that, and that this committee and the advisory council, and I already tried to do my part by mentioning this at the Long-Term Services and Supports Rebalancing Committee, that if people want to be on the subcommittee, that they could reach out to me to say that this was something they were interested in participating in. So that there is some self-selection, and people that are vested get to have a voice at the table. I do think it's important, though, that because ultimately the Long-Term Care Planning Committee is the committee charged with writing the final report and submitting it to the legislature, and most of the programs and supports are funded by the planning committee, that we have people at the table, have at least 6 members at the table. And we can decide which 6 state agencies have a member at the table. It doesn't have to be a planning committee member. It could be just a member from one of the agencies. So, for example, Michael Santoro could find somebody else at the Department of Housing who does something in support of housing who he thinks should be at the table and appoint them, that kind of thing. But I want to really open it up. I think there is a comment about hiring a consultant to do a needs assessment, which Laura, I would love nothing more than to hire a consultant to do a long-term services and support system needs assessment. There's no money for that right now, but that is something that I think could be incredibly valuable to do because I think Julie Robeson is on this call, so she can remind me if I'm wrong, and Deb McNulty might be on too. I think the last one was in 2007, the last time we did a full-scale needs assessment. It was a long time ago.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that, you know, if we could find the money tree, I would love that.
So Melissa, it's Erin again, sorry.
Yeah,
So how many people are voting members of this committee?
10.
Okay, so do we want to have subcommittees that are bigger than this committee? Or do you know what I'm saying? Because with
Well,
potentially,
we have 10 voting members. We technically have 12 members because some agencies are designated 2 members, but 10 vote because each agency gets a vote. I see your point, but I don't know how to get around it and still have meaningful representation from the advisory, from providers, community members, people with lived experience, and state agencies. But I'm open to conversation, so chime in. That's a conversation point. Is
So-
10
to my point, some of those 6 members of state agencies are going to also be members of this advisory. So it's not like you're going to have 14 people. I think to your point, if you have too big of a group that need to get down to really do the work, 14 might be a little much.
It's 12, not
Okay,
14.
so it is 12. Okay,
Mhm.
so there are going to be some of those 6 and 6 are going to be the same person.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
So
if I was
it's,
on a
well,
subcommittee, I would be a state agency, but also a member of this committee. Because the way the math works out, it's 14. It's not
no,
12.
it's 6 members from state agencies, 6 members from the advisory council. That's 12, with at least 2 of which being users of the long-term services and support system. So 2 of the 12 have to be users of the long-term services and support system.
Right, but you might not have members of state agencies or members of this advisory group that are users.
Oh,
I'm
so
sorry if
that's
I'm being thick about this, but I still
no,
adds
no,
up to
no.
14.
So that was the point. The advisory council has users of the long-term services and support
Gotcha.
system on it. And
Okay.
the requirement was to say at least 2 of their 6 appointees must be members who use the system. But
Oh, okay, so now I see
yeah.
how it's written. Okay,
Yes.
see, I was reading it more
Yes.
concretely.
Yeah. So,
2
but
of
that's
which,
actually, yeah. So
with
that's
2 of which, so maybe word it that way, 2 of which have to
well,
be,
no,
okay,
I actually, yeah. So actually, that's
Okay.
what I was explaining in the beginning too. Is that's not even what we're doing anymore because Michael very wisely counseled me yesterday that we should open it or broader and not just have users of the LTSS system be members of his committee because there aren't that many, and that to make sure that users of the LTSS system and their family members have a voice. So this would actually now be 4 members of the
Gotcha.
Long-Term Care Advisory Council and 2 members being users.
okay, thank you. Okay, I was getting
So,
stuck there.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
So for
All right.
development, oh, can I make another comment?
Yeah, please.
So for development, I mean, for what agencies, I would think if you're doing the development, I would guess DSS would have to be one of those at the table, and the Department of, what do you, it's DAD, Department of Aging and Disabilities, right?
Aging and Disability Services.
Thank you.
So I'll let them speak if they also want to be. I mean, yes, I thought that, and I also thought DDS was another one that should be on, but
I'm just throwing it out there for discussion.
but I want to
that's-
make
I
sure
would think-
are people even okay with the composition being, whoop, sorry, I went to the wrong subcommittee. Are we good with 12 members, 6 state agencies, 4 from advisory council, 2 being users of the system, people with lived experience? How do we feel about that? If you wouldn't mind just saying out loud, it's good, it's not good, just because I can't see you.
It's good for me. That's Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Everybody
think
good?
it's good.
Okay.
I just think
It's-
for people like for DSS and maybe, well, maybe not so much DDS, but for DSS, like our universe encompasses so many services and supports. Having one person be the entire department's rep may be daunting. So like, I know you want to keep these very small, but like one person having this entire responsibility for DSS and then having to go back and take things like a game of telephone to another subcommittee at DSS. I don't know, maybe if we could have 2. Can 2 be from one state agency? I don't know. Like, I
Well,
would
I
like to
don't
have.
know. So here's what I'm thinking, Christine, because to your point, there's also going to be state agencies that don't have anybody at the table. So what we've done historically, and what I think we would do this time, if you're amenable, is have one person who's the point person. That point person is really helping us come up with the survey, who should be on the focus groups, taking the feedback that we receive, coming up with the recommendations, and then circulating those recommendations to whoever in the community options unit needs to comment on the recommendations. And then if we need, could people mute, please? Thank you. And then if we need a subject matter expert or something, maybe having that person say, hey, you know, who in my unit needs to comment on that or whatever it is. That's how we've operated in the past without the subcommittee. Would that work?
Yeah, I'm just concerned about our size. Like you can imagine, like we are just
Yeah.
a massive part of LTSS, and to only have one person at the table to bring everything back, I just don't want to do a disservice to the work. I mean, I trust my team. I love my team. It's just people hear things differently. People collaborate differently. It's going to be a lot for one DSS rep. But we'll try it. If it doesn't work, I can revisit it. We could revisit it.
So why don't we talk offline about it too? And I'm happy to have this discussion because it's going to work how it has in the past, where this person isn't just writing things for DSS or based on Medicaid. It's for the whole services and support system. And it's really coming up with the how we collect the feedback from the general public, less about, so, and how we come up with the recommendations. And again, and maybe you haven't probably been part of a previous report either.
No.
Draft recommendations are then circulated for all the agencies to comment on. So there won't be a sole responsibility for one person to speak on behalf of DSS or DDS. All right. In the interest of time, because we still have to get through the other subcommittee, are we good with composition here? So we're good with what they're doing. Are we good with the general composition of 12, 6, 4? I mean, I'm sorry, of 6, 4, and 2 to equal 12 members for now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then we will come up with, let's just skip down to real quick. We said that DSS, ADS, DDS, what are the other 3 state agencies we think should be on this committee? Anybody have a preference? Want their agency to have and it doesn't have to be you, it can be a staff person you assign, to sit on the Long-Term Services and Supports Development Committee. And the subcommittees will elect chairs from within their.
I think Demas,
For how frequently they want to meet.
I think Demas should
You'd
be
love
up
Demas to
here.
be.
Well, I just
Okay.
think because of the unique, DDS, you know what I mean? It's,
I agree.
yeah.
DOH and DPH, but now that's everybody. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
then those are our normal cohorts. Like, is there someone missing that we would have
Yeah,
wanted to add?
Well, we're missing OHS, but, and DOT on, but that makes sense to me that it would be DOH and 1, 2,
Now we're at
And-
6 with DPH.
DPH. Okay. Everybody good with that?
But do you want to make a
And-
list of who we're missing to see if there's a risk? Like, do we then identify who that doesn't include?
The only people we're missing are OHS, DOT. I think that's, let me stop sharing for 1 second.
And Christine, if the other 4 members, you might be able to pull that work for some of
Yeah.
those agencies that would fulfill the other. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, that's it. And so the other 2 agencies might want to put somebody on the other committee.
Okay.
Yeah, so OHS and DOT are the only ones not represented, who are planning committee members who aren't represented. And we can do some of this work offline too, but and then, let's see, office, and then long-term care, whoopsies, long-term care advisory. 4. And then you get 1, 1, 1, whoopsies. And I will go fill this in, but in the interest of time, I just want to move us along here. And then we'll have the members of the public and responsible party. I'll put it for now, planning and advisory. And we can I'll send emails out and try to do some recruitment there. Okay, and that'll be 2 members. All right. Second subcommittee. The purpose of the second subcommittee is to do long-term care plan implementation and progress tracking. The purpose of this subcommittee is to track state agency progress toward meeting the goals and recommendations in the long-term services and supports plan, and identify and present to the committee progress updates, as well as potential policy and programmatic opportunities for achieving recommendations within available resources. So here's the purpose of this committee, is an OPM will also be helping this subcommittee. We've gone through and collected some like progress tracking tools that can be used and things like that will help the committee set up. But this is not a committee to just come track our progress and leave us hanging, and it's a working subcommittee that would also be like, hey, we'd also know that X is happening out in the community, or we know that this entity is doing a best practice in the area. You might want to talk to them. Or I was at a conference and here's a national speaker that's doing this. Or I know Yukon Health Center is doing a study on X, Y, or Z. You should really bring them in to talk. So also helping us set the committee, working with the committee to set priorities, areas where we should focus, but really keeping us honest and making sure that we're making progress toward the goals in the plan. So the roles and responsibility of this committee are to develop a tracking tool and methodologies to monitor and evaluate the state's progress towards meeting the goals of the long-term care plan and implementation of short and long-term recommendations, to identify state and national experts and bring them to the subcommittee or full committee. Again, please remember, these are big things, but Cody and I are going to be helping and the full committee will be helping. So it's not like we're going to leave the subcommittee to just do this all themselves. And then identify areas for resource maximization, enhanced agency coordination, and overall operational improvement, which sounds large. What that really means is as you're going through the monitoring tool and seeing things, maybe there's somewhere where you see that this subcommittee might see that the people on this subcommittee or on other committees, and they're like, wait, why aren't this could be done? It's just that these two organizations need to talk to each other, or why aren't we doing X, Y, or Z? So bringing ideas forward as we're not trying to use them as a paid consultant think tank. It's more just if you identify a gap, are you noticing patterns and tracking our progress that maybe that you want to bring to the full committee? Any comment on, and I want to be respectful of time. So is there any comment on this subcommittee and the roles and responsibilities? Again, this was all developed over the summer, so hopefully it's looks just like what you guys commented on and there are no surprises.
So Melissa, just a quick question. Is this subcommittee, what I thought I heard you just say, could also be charged with identifying variances in the plan and then helping to support recommendations, as you just said? Well, did you know that this state agency or
Yes.
should we include that in this, that they can offer that support to the
Yes, that's
implementers
number
of that piece of the plan? So
I-
resource maximization, we can capture it there.
Yeah, that's what I meant to
Okay.
capture under number
Okay,
3.
no,
I don't know.
now that you say that, I'm good with it. Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Any other comments on this?
Looks good.
Okay. And I'm not going to even get into us pulling things out. We'll do this offline. What I will, if we agree to let's just discuss the general maximum number of members and composition, and then I will circulate something where we can actually fill in who's doing what. But for now, this is just for your consideration for this group. I don't know why I said 8 to 10 members and the other one I put 12. I think I'm just trying to get feedback. So it just seemed like a progress tracking group, smaller might be better. So what do we think about total number of members and composition being 4 from state agencies, some from the advisory council, and then here I really want to make sure we have people from who are using the system, because they know what's working and what's not working.
I would say you're right. Smaller is better in this particular case. I don't know that you need 4 agency members. 6 to 8 as opposed to 8 to 10. If you go with 3 state agency members, just my 2 cents.
What if we do 8? How do people feel that way? If assuming people can't make every meeting or do everything, is 8 too big? Or
I wouldn't go bigger. I agree with Mike.
Yeah, I would not go bigger. Yeah.
And having been, I am a member of an implementation group in my town, and it's small. I don't even know if we have 8, maybe.
So do you
Um,
want,
so
is
I-
6 ideal for this?
No,
group?
I mean, or can you say up to 8?
Or-
Yeah, not more than 8. I think.
You
again,
know,
that's
that
why
way if you have
6 to 8.
7, you're all
Yeah.
set, you know what I mean? But maybe up to 8 members. And that way you have some flexibility as to the number. And can you,
Sounds good.
okay,
And then I'm rethinking my half of which must be state agencies. Do we actually want for this group to be more advisory council and people with lived experience versus the state peoples? Do we want to be monitoring ourselves? Maybe only
agree.
two from state agencies? And this might be a great place for DOT and OHS, actually, OHS in particular.
Yeah,
I would, that's why I originally had said no more than 3. 2 to 3,
Okay.
I think works.
Okay.
So that
So
you do
I'm
get
gonna-
that weight, if you will, on the other side.
but to your point, Melissa, I don't think DMS, DSS, I mean, then you're monitoring yourself, I guess, except
Right.
that.
I'm just going to do this for people to react to, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, and those need to move over a column, just so you know,
Oh,
Melissa.
yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So I don't mean to rush us, but we are at the end of time, and I really want to make sure that I stay true to allowing public comment. So by the way, when I put, all right, so there we go. And then we'll do. And so this is for the people with lived experience, will be 3 as well. And I will fill that in and send that out to everybody. So I had this lovely slide on what do we do next and blah, 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 blah. But we've really done most of it. We've decided the who, the how. Now we just need to do, we did the what. And so now we're down to the when. I put a general timeline up that we would determine the composition of each subcommittee. We did that today. That we'd identify members for appointment to the subcommittee. So I'm going to assign each of you, and you can pick the people and get back to me. But by September 29th, I'm hoping we have everybody will have found who from their agency they're going to assign to the subcommittees and helped to identify the individual, helped us to reach out to get individuals who are users of long-term services and support system and know about the opportunity and have the ability to self-select and contact me to join. It would be great to have all those names by September 30th. Does that seem doable? That's a couple weeks. Yes, more than a couple weeks. It's 1, 2, it's 3 weeks. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. And then OPM will be responsible for taking it from there and sending a welcome email to all of the subcommittee members. And I'll try to start to put together some agenda and materials to kick off the subcommittees that I will circulate and share with all of you for feedback. And then work to get subcommittees scheduled and convened for the first time. So they convene at least once in November before our December meeting, and then have those members attend our December meeting so that we can welcome them and they can report out on their first meetings. That is the goal. How's the timeline seem?
That's really aggressive, but
Well, if people can get me names by the 30th of September, I would hope that I can get 2 meetings scheduled in November, but you're right. It could be, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
Do other people think it's too aggressive?
I think it's an energetic plan, but I think we should try.
All right, what do people, can we at least commit to the September 30th? And then the rest is in my court. So if it all falls through, it's my fault for messing up our timetable. So,
Okay.
is 3 weeks, I think that's plenty of time to find a name
Yeah.
to send for.
I agree.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yep.
All right, great. And then, but to adjourn, I just need us to, can I have a motion to adopt the?
Did you have- Oh, sorry.
What's that?
No, just public comment. Sorry. No.
We just need to vote on the roles and
Yep.
responsibilities of the subcommittees. So I have a motion to adopt the roles, responsibilities, and composition of the 2 subcommittees.
So
moved.
moved. Oh, sorry.
I'll give it to Michael. I heard him first and second.
Second.
Barbara Cass will second.
Great. Thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. So with that, we have our subcommittees. I'm going to finish this chart and I will circulate it to everyone. I will also circulate this whole PowerPoint. I will circulate our guiding principles for further review. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for working so hard today and open it up for public comment. We only have a minute. I'm sorry, but I'm willing to stay and listen to public comment. If others have to jump, just let me know. All right, I see Matt's hand up.
Yeah, is this my opportunity to comment, Melissa?
It is. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting our participation. I guess I'm commenting as a member of the public, but also as a member of the advisory committee. And the first comment, I just want to be clear, I have no objection. In fact, strongly support what is being discussed substantively on this call. The review and broadening the participation of people who are advisory. And I have no objection or comments about which state agencies participate. But having had a hand in the construction of the statute forming the planning committee and the advisory committee, I just have some knowledge of its underlying workings. And I wanted to make sure I gave the recommendation to the committee that they do a review of their underlying legal authority regarding establishing a subcommittee. And by the way, that's not an objection to you forming a subcommittee, but you want to really be making sure that you have the legal authority to do that. And I think the first question, and maybe there's an assistant attorney general that can answer this question for you, is can you form a subcommittee from a committee that was formed in statute that specifies its members? Can you form this subcommittee with members who are not members of the underlying parent subcommittee? And I think it's really important that you have a good answer to that question before you create this subcommittee and add a bunch of participants to it. By the way, I'm not saying you can or you can't. I think that's a reasonable question. And the reason why you always want to sort of shore up your underlying legal authority to act is you don't want to go through this whole process and then come up with a recommendation. And then someone raises their hand and says, wait a minute, you didn't even have the authority to create that subcommittee with all those members that were external to the underlying parent committee. So first of all, do you understand the nature of my first recommendation?
I
You want to
do,
check that
and-
out.
Yep, I do. And I feel very confident we have the authority, but I will get it in writing just to make everybody, just to button that up. But it's made up of two groups that are statutorily charged with developing the plan. So I feel good about that. The only thing that would be different are the 2 members of the public. So,
Right.
yeah.
I do see that
But
part too.
that's a very good, it's a good point to keep us legally honest. So I appreciate that, and I'll get an opinion in writing just so everybody can feel confident.
Right. And I think you're thinking along the right lines when you point out the nexus between the advisory committee membership and the parent sort of like long-term care planning committee. But you want to also take a look at the advisory committee membership too, because it's all statutorily named individuals. It doesn't have a
Yep.
provision like the other similar to the parent committee it says and any other member deemed appropriate by the chairman of the planning committee. And so again, this is not an objection to you adding participants outside of the advisory committee structure or the parent committee, long-term care planning committee. But if you do add them, you have to make sure you have the authority to do that. And when you're dealing with the advisory committee, those are all named in the statute. And so adding sort of participants there, again, I'm not asking you to give me an answer right now. I just wanted to make sure I was on the record commenting.
Well,
in the
yeah,
event that
and I
someone-
think you missed our June meeting, Matt, where we went over the statutory authority very clearly about who's on the planning committee and who's on the advisory council. And
Okay.
that's why we specifically said the subcommittees are made up of planning committee and advisory council members. And the only people we're looking to deviate from that are the members of the general public. And it's 2 members. And to your point, we will absolutely, we can pull members of the general public from the advisory council as well, because users of the long-term care system, because they're on the council. But we can absolutely get a formal opinion on those 2 members.
Right.
Everyone else is legally in statute as being a party to development of the plan.
Right. And by the way, it could be as simple as not even calling it a subcommittee if there were a legal impediment. It sounds like you don't believe there
It's
is.
a work group. Yeah.
But the other point is it's just a point. It's just a point. And that's if you looked at the underlying advisory committee statute, there is no mention of a chair or a chairperson. And so many statutory constructions, have the language of the chairperson shall be elected or selected from among the members. But I think historically, and by the way, I agree with you, Michael Werner, I think is doing an outstanding job as the chairperson of the Long-Term Care Advisory Committee. And I think historically, that committee was sort of, if they weren't the chairperson, they were clearly the administrative lead, was the longstanding Connecticut Commission on Aging, which Michael's organization is sort of the successor entity to. But anyway, I just wanted to point out there's no chairperson mentioned in the statute. And so you're creating a subcommittee that actually gives the chairperson of the long-term care committee or advisory committee certain authorities to select the members of the subcommittee. I just wanted to point that out to make sure that that underlying legal authority to do that is good. It's not. I just wanted to get on the record saying that. And I'm glad to know that you've investigated all those and everything is legally fine there in that regard. Thank you again for the opportunity to comment.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Michael.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And Matt, thank you so much for your commentary. We worked together in different forms, including the advisory council, as well as the senior fraud task force. And you bring, of course, a long breadth of institutional knowledge. And of course, I was counting on you and your participation, your voluntary participation in this future work. So I'm glad to hear your participating interest in today's conversation. And thank you so much for your remarks. I also want to expressly thank Melissa for her leadership today, putting this together and really taking charge in this work. We really want to be responsive in going forward and also to the legislature itself. I want to express appreciation to Christine Weston for highlighting the needs of caregiving and family caregiving in particular. That still remains a very strong interest to both my commission as well as the advisory council. I'm going to just briefly Also thank Commissioner Porter and Margie joining us from Aging and Disability Services. Just to touch base on one particular topic that's been in the media lately regarding the statewide senior center coordinator position. There's been certain reports about that. I just put into the chat the final report of the statewide senior center work group, which I administered. And the number one recommendation was to have a statewide senior center coordinator, to have this position be annualized so that it's there forever forward. This is really coming from the pandemic, understanding how senior centers really stepped up. They're municipally funded entities. We're not like Massachusetts where they each get state funding. They're each locally funded. So for equity's purposes, it's really a very smart, innovative investment for the state of Connecticut to have a lead in this role at the Department of Aging and Disability Services. So my gratitude to that agency for their work. My hope is that we can restore that position and have it be in there really forever forward. And lastly, we have our Long-Term Care Advisory Council. We're going to be meeting on Thursday at 2 p.m. We're going to be hosting Representative Garibay, of course, Representative Belinsky. I'd love to see you there again as well. And thank you everyone today for a wonderful meeting.
Thank you. And before we conclude, I just want to open it up one more time to not put you on the spot, Representative Garibay and Representative Belinsky. I didn't know, now that you sat through our marathon meeting, if you had any additional comments you wanted to make, and then we can also open it up for final thoughts from anybody else from the public.
Well, I just want to say thank you. You're all very amazing, and it's incredible that the work you're doing, and it renews hope, right, in these difficult times and what we need to do. But with the leadership I see here in this meeting, it gives me a ton of hope. So thank you for all that you're all doing.
Thank you. And thanks so much for being such a champion and all the work you do as well. Oh, you're muted, Rep. Belinsky.
I also want to thank everybody for their dedication. This meeting was packed, man, like unbelievable the ground that you guys covered, and also just highlighting that Rep. Garibay and I also have concerns about making permanent that navigator's position, and making sure that we keep the focus going so that it can support the vision. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you do. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for staying late. And thanks for all the good work. I will send things out. We'll take next steps. Got a lot accomplished today to set us on a good path forward. So thank you all, and be in touch soon.
Motion
Nice
to
job,
adjourn.
Melissa.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. We adjourn.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.